Welcome to Ancient Chronicles AI. Here, we cross the line between what is known and what is denied, stepping into the hidden prophecies of the Sibylline oracles. Chapter 1. The Whisper Beneath the Ashes. A traveler discovers a hidden scroll deep within the ruined cavern of Cumae, awakened by an ancient voice calling them by an unknown name. The ruins of Cumae lie half buried beneath drifting ash and fractured stone, the morning light filtering through the haze like a memory struggling to return. A lone traveler steps across the shattered threshold of the ancient cavern, feeling the air shift around them with the slow, deliberate weight of something awakening. Dust swirls in lazy spirals, catching the faint glow that seeps through cracks in the ceiling, turning the chamber into a dim cathedral of forgotten breath. The traveler pauses, sensing a presence older than the empire that once ruled these shores, older even than the myths carved into the walls around them. A subtle tremor ripples through the ground, so faint it could be dismissed, yet heavy with the unmistakable pulse of something waiting to be acknowledged. The air grows colder as they descend deeper, each footstep echoing like a question the cavern has been waiting centuries to hear again. Ancient carvings line the walls, spirals, flames, and unblinking eyes that seem to follow the traveler with a patience that borders on hunger. The scent of old parchment and volcanic ash lingers in the air, as though the Sibyl's final breath still clings to the stones in quiet defiance of time. A soft whisper curls through the chamber, too faint to be words, too deliberate to be wind, brushing against the traveler's ear like a memory trying to return. They stop, heart pounding, feeling the whisper settle into their bones with a familiarity they cannot explain, as if the voice knows them intimately. The cavern seems to inhale, drawing the traveler closer, guiding them toward a narrow passage hidden behind a fallen slab of marble and shadow. A faint glow pulses from within, rhythmic and slow, like the heartbeat of a prophecy that never finished speaking and refuses to die. The traveler reaches out, brushing their fingers against the stone, and the glow brightens, as if recognizing a long-awaited touch. Symbols carved into the walls begin to shimmer, their edges softening, their shapes shifting into patterns they feel almost alive beneath the traveler's gaze. The whisper returns, stronger now, threading through the chamber with a tone that carries both warning and invitation, ancient and intimate. The traveler steps forward, compelled by a force that feels neither divine nor mortal, but something woven between the two like a forgotten oath. The glow intensifies, revealing a sealed alcove where a single scroll rests untouched by time, its surface wrapped in threads of gold dust that pulse like veins. The air vibrates with a low hum, the kind that resonates in the chest rather than the ears, as if the prophecy inside is already speaking through the silence. The traveler reaches for the scroll, feeling the cavern tighten around them, as though the world itself is holding its breath in anticipation. And in that suspended moment, the whisper becomes a voice, ancient, patient, and impossibly clear, calling them by a name they have never heard before. A traveler discovers a glowing, untouched scroll in the Sibyl's cavern, as an ancient voice calls them by an unknown name. Chapter 2. The Scroll That Breathes. The scroll unseals itself, revealing shifting ink that moves like living smoke, forming prophecies that rewrite themselves as the traveler watches. The traveler holds the ancient scroll with trembling hands, feeling a warmth pulse beneath the golden dust, as though something inside is stirring awake after centuries of silence. A faint vibration hums through the parchment, subtle at first, then growing stronger, resonating through the traveler's fingertips like a heartbeat trying to sync with their own. The threads of gold unravel on their own, unwinding in slow, deliberate spirals that drift into the air like strands of sunlight breaking apart. The seal cracks open with a soft sigh, releasing a breath of warm air that smells of cedar, smoke, and something older than language itself. The parchment unfurls without being touched, stretching open like a creature shaking off sleep, its surface glowing faintly in the dim cavern light. Ink begins to rise from the page in thin, curling tendrils, moving like living smoke that refuses to settle into a single shape. The traveler watches as the ink gathers, swirls, and collapses, forming symbols that flicker between alphabets, Greek, Latin, Etruscan, and others long forgotten. Each symbol pulses with a soft inner glow, as if lit from beneath by a memory that refuses to fade, shifting faster than the traveler can fully comprehend. The words rearrange themselves again and again, rewriting their own meaning, as though the prophecy is searching for the version meant for the traveler alone. A low hum fills the chamber, vibrating through the stone walls, echoing like distant chanting from voices that no longer have bodies to speak with. The traveler leans closer, feeling the air thicken around them, heavy with the weight of knowledge that was never meant to be read by mortal eyes. The ink suddenly freezes, locking into place, forming a single line of text that glows brighter than the rest, as if demanding to be understood. The traveler reads it, and the words burn into their mind with a clarity that feels both terrifying and inevitable, as though they have always known this truth. Before they can react, the ink dissolves again, melting into new shapes, revealing a second prophecy that contradicts the first in ways that make the traveler's pulse quicken. The scroll seems alive now, breathing in slow, rhythmic waves, expanding and contracting like a chest, drawing in air from a world beyond the cavern. The traveler feels the presence from before, the whispering voice, circling them, guiding their gaze across the shifting lines as if teaching them how to see. Symbols begin to rise off the page entirely, floating in the air like glowing embers, orbiting the traveler in a slow, deliberate spiral. Each symbol pulses with meaning, imprinting fragments of visions, collapsing temples, eclipsed suns, and a figure standing alone at the edge of a broken world. The scroll folds itself shut with a sudden snap, the symbols vanishing into the parchment as though swallowed by the prophecy itself. And in the echoing silence that follows, the traveler realizes the scroll has not merely revealed a prophecy, it has chosen them to carry it. The scroll awakens, its ink shifting like smoke as it reveals living prophecies that reshape themselves for the traveler alone. Chapter 3. The Ninth Oracle's Warning. A forgotten prophecy emerges, one the ancient. Sibyls hid even from emperors, foretelling a cycle of collapse tied to a celestial alignment returning for the first time in millennia. The traveler unrolls the awakened scroll once more, the parchment trembling faintly, as if resisting the weight of what it is about to reveal. Ink rises from the surface in slow, deliberate spirals, forming symbols that pulse with a deep red glow, the color of eclipsed suns and dying embers. The chamber darkens around them, shadows stretching across the stone walls like fingers reaching toward the prophecy as though hungry for its return. A cold wind sweeps through the cavern despite the sealed entrance, carrying with it the faint echo of chanting voices long buried beneath volcanic ash. The symbols rearrange themselves into a single line of text that flickers violently, as if the prophecy itself is struggling to remain visible. The traveler leans closer, feeling the air thicken with a pressure that presses against their ribs, urging them to read before the words vanish again. The line stabilizes, revealing a date marked not by numbers, but by a celestial pattern, 3 stars, a crescent moon, and a darkened sun aligned in a perfect arc. A shiver runs through the traveler as they recognize the pattern from ancient mosaics and forgotten myths, a configuration said to appear only once every few thousand years. The ink expands outward, forming a second line that trembles with urgency, warning of a cycle of collapse that begins the moment the alignment returns to the sky. Visions erupt across the parchment, cities crumbling beneath shifting earth, oceans rising in spirals, and a sky split open by a single streak of blinding light. The traveler staggers back as the images burn into their mind, each one carrying the weight of a future that feels both distant and terrifyingly close. The scroll pulses again, revealing a third line of prophecy written in a script the traveler has never seen, yet somehow understands with perfect clarity. It speaks of a ninth oracle, a voice silenced before Rome's rise, whose final warning was hidden from emperors, priests, and even the other sibyls. The prophecy claims the ninth oracle foresaw a collapse not caused by war or plague, but by the return of something ancient that stirs only when the heavens align. The traveler feels the cavern tremble, dust falling from the ceiling as if the earth itself reacts to the prophecy being spoken aloud once more. The ink shifts again, revealing a final line that glows brighter than all the rest, its meaning sharp enough to cut through the traveler's breath. It declares that the one who reads the ninth oracle's warning will become the fulcrum of the coming cycle, the hinge upon which collapse or salvation will turn. The scroll snaps shut with a violent jolt, the glowing symbols vanishing into the parchment as though swallowed by the prophecy's own fear. Silence floods the chamber, heavy and absolute, broken only by the traveler's unsteady breathing as they realize the prophecy has chosen them as its witness. And somewhere deep within the cavern, the whispering voice returns, softer now, but unmistakably urgent, repeating the celestial alignment like a countdown. The scroll reveals a hidden prophecy tied to a rare celestial alignment, marking the traveler as the one destined to face the coming cycle of collapse. Chapter 4. The Chamber of Echoed Voices. The traveler descends into a deeper, sealed chamber where the whispers of past sibyls linger, each voice offering fragments of a truth too dangerous to speak aloud. The traveler follows the trembling glow of the awakened scroll deeper into the cavern, each step sinking into dust that has not been disturbed since the last oracle drew breath. The air grows heavier as they descend, thick with the scent of ancient incense and volcanic stone, as though the chamber itself still remembers the rituals once performed here. A narrow passage opens before them, carved with spirals that twist inward like a labyrinth, designed to guide the mind rather than the body. The walls pulse faintly with residual warmth, as if the voices of the sibyls still cling to the stone, refusing to fade even after centuries of silence. The traveler feels a pressure building behind their ears, a soft vibration that grows stronger with every step, like a chorus humming beneath the threshold of hearing. A faint glow emerges ahead, not the warm gold of the scroll, but a cold bluish shimmer that flickers like candlelight trapped underwater. The chamber opens suddenly into a vast, circular hall, its ceiling lost in darkness, its floor etched with concentric rings that radiate outward like ripples frozen in stone. The traveler steps inside, and the temperature drops instantly, a chill that wraps around their spine with the intimacy of a hand guiding them forward. Whispers rise from the walls, soft at first, then layered, overlapping, weaving together like threads of sound pulled from different centuries. The voices are unmistakably feminine, some trembling with fear, others steady with conviction, all speaking in fragments that dissolve before they can be fully understood. The traveler turns slowly, realizing the whispers are not random but directed, each voice addressing them as though recognizing the one who carries the awakened scroll. Symbols carved into the stone begin to glow, illuminating the chamber in pale blue light that reveals faces etched into the walls, the likenesses of sibyls long dead. Their stone eyes seem to follow the traveler, not with malice, but with a sorrowful urgency, as if they have been waiting for someone who could finally hear them. The whispers grow louder, forming overlapping phrases that brush against the traveler's mind like cold fingertips tracing forgotten memories. Some voices ward of a cycle returning, others speak of a betrayal buried in time, and one, faint but steady, repeats the celestial alignment revealed in the ninth oracle's warning. The traveler feels the chamber tighten around them, the air vibrating with a resonance that seems to pull at their thoughts, urging them to listen more deeply. A single voice rises above the rest, clearer than the others, speaking in a tone that carries the weight of prophecy and the exhaustion of centuries spent waiting. It tells the traveler that the truth they seek cannot be written, only spoken through echoes, for the prophecy is too dangerous to exist in any form that can be destroyed. The chamber trembles as the voices merge into a single, unified whisper that fills the traveler's mind with a vision of a world on the brink of repeating its oldest mistake. And as the final echo fades, the traveler realizes the Sibyls have not merely spoken to them. They have entrusted them with a truth no living soul was ever meant to carry alone. The traveler enters a hidden hall where the lingering voices of ancient Sibyls speak fragmented warnings meant only for the one who carries the awakened scroll. Chapter 5. The mark of the chosen listener. Strange symbols begin appearing on the traveler's skin, glowing faintly in darkness, revealing that the oracles had foreseen their arrival centuries before their birth. The traveler emerges from the chamber of echoed voices, with their pulse still trembling, the whispers clinging to their thoughts like threads of cold silk that refuse to loosen. A faint warmth spreads across their forearm, subtle at first, like a lingering touch of sunlight slipping through a clouded sky. They lift their sleeve, expecting dust or scratches from the stone walls, but instead find a single glowing symbol etched into their skin, pulsing with a soft, golden light. The mark is delicate, yet unmistakably deliberate. A spiral wrapped around a vertical line, the same pattern carved into the chamber walls where the Sibyls once stood. As the traveler watches, the symbol shifts, its edges softening, stretching, reshaping itself, as though responding to the rhythm of their heartbeat. A second mark appears just below the first, emerging slowly from beneath the skin like ink rising through parchment, glowing brighter with every breath the traveler takes. The air around them thickens, vibrating with the same resonance that filled the chamber, as if the voices of the Sibyls are still speaking through the marks, now claiming their flesh. The traveler stumbles back against the cavern wall, feeling the stone pulse faintly beneath their palm, echoing the rhythm of the symbols glowing on their skin. A wave of heat rushes through their body, not painful, but overwhelming, like standing too close to a fire that burns with memory instead of flame. Visions flicker behind their eyes. A woman draped in white, her face hidden by shadows. A circle of torches burning in a storm. A hand reaching out to mark a newborn child. The traveler gasps as the realization settles over them. These symbols are not new, not spontaneous. They were placed upon them long before they ever stepped into this cavern. The marks pulse again, brighter now, illuminating the dark passage around them with a warm, amber glow that feels both protective and possessive. A third symbol emerges across their collarbone, this one sharper, angular, resembling the celestial alignment revealed in the ninth oracle's warning. The traveler touches it gently, and the mark responds with a soft hum, vibrating beneath their fingertips like a living thing acknowledging its chosen bearer. The cavern seems to lean closer, the air tightening around them as though the ancient stone recognizes the marks and bows to their presence. A whisper rises from the darkness, not from the scroll, not from the chamber, but from the marks themselves, a voice layered with centuries of prophecy. It speaks of a listener, a mortal chosen not to read the prophecies, but to carry them, to embody them, to become the vessel through which the Sibyls speak once more. The traveler feels the weight of this truth settle into their bones, heavy yet strangely familiar, as if they have been walking toward this moment their entire life without knowing it. The marks dim slightly, settling into a steady glow that pulses in time with the traveler's heartbeat, a silent promise that more will be revealed when the time is right. And as the last whisper fades, the traveler understands that the oracles did not merely foresee their arrival. They shaped it, marked it, and prepared for it centuries before they were born. Symbols bloom across the traveler's skin, glowing with ancient purpose, revealing they were destined to bear the Sibyl's prophecies long before their birth. Chapter 6. The Prophecy Devourers. Shadow-born entities awaken, ancient guardians created to erase forbidden prophecies, and begin hunting the traveler across sacred ruins and forgotten temples. The traveler steps out of the cavern into the fading light of dusk, unaware at first that the air behind them has thickened into something colder, darker, and far less forgiving than shadow. A tremor ripples through the earth, subtle but unmistakable, as if something buried deep beneath the ruins has stirred in response to the scroll's awakening. The traveler feels a sudden pressure in their chest, a tightening that steals their breath for a moment, as though unseen eyes have fixed upon them with predatory intent. The marks on their skin flare with a faint golden glow, reacting not to the scroll, but to something approaching, something older than the Sibyls and far more ruthless. A low hum rises from the ground, vibrating through the traveler's bones, carrying with it a whisper. It is not a voice, but a hunger, ancient and insatiable. Shadows begin to stretch unnaturally across the broken stones, lengthening in ways that defy the angle of the dying sun, moving with a purpose that is not their own. The traveler watches in horror as one shadow detaches itself from the wall entirely, peeling away like smoke made solid, forming a shape that resembles a figure without a face. Its edges ripple like torn cloth drifting underwater, its body shifting between forms as though it cannot decide which shape best suits its purpose. The air grows colder still, frost forming along the traveler's fingertips, despite the warm Mediterranean evening, as the entity glides forward without sound or hesitation. The marks on the traveler's skin pulse again, brighter now, casting a faint halo of light that forces the creature to recoil with a hiss that vibrates through the stones. But the reprieve is brief. More shadows peel themselves free from the ruins, rising from cracks in the earth, from the hollow spaces between fallen columns, from the darkness beneath the traveler's own feet. These are the prophecy devourers, guardians forged in the earliest days of the oracles, created not to protect knowledge, but to erase it when it grows too dangerous to exist. Their presence feels like a void, a cold emptiness that swallows sound, memory, and meaning, leaving only silence in its wake. A traveler stumbles backward as the creatures advance, their movements fluid and predatory, drawn to the awakened scroll like wolves scenting blood in the air. A sudden gust of wind sweeps through the ruins, scattering ash and dust, revealing ancient symbols carved into the ground that begin to glow in response to the traveler's presence. The devourers hesitate, their forms flickering, as if the symbols themselves hold a power they cannot cross, a boundary set by the Sibyls to protect the one who would one day carry the forbidden's prophecy. The traveler seizes the moment, sprinting across the ruins as the creatures surge forward again, their bodies unraveling into streaks of darkness that chase them like living shadows. Every step echoes with the weight of pursuit, the ground trembling beneath their feet as the devourers close in, their hunger sharpening with every heartbeat. The traveler reaches the edge of the ruins, just as the marks on their skin flare with blinding light, forming a barrier of shimmering gold that halts the creatures in their tracks. And as the devourers writhe against the barrier, their forms twisting in frustration, the traveler realizes with chilling clarity that the prophecy has awakened enemies who will not stop until every forbidden's word is erased, including the one chosen to carry them. Shadow-born guardians rise from the ruins to hunt the traveler, drawn to the awakened prophecy and repelled only by the glowing marks on their skin. Chapter 7. The Sibyl Who Never Died. The traveler encounters the last living oracle, preserved by a ritual older than Rome, who reveals the true purpose of the hidden prophecies and the cost of reading them. The traveler flees the ruins until the night swallows the last trace of sunlight, their breath sharp in the cold air, as the marks on their skin pulse like distant stars, guiding them onward. A narrow path winds through the ancient forest beyond Kumi, the trees leaning inward as though listening, their branches whispering secrets older than the empire that once ruled these lands. The traveler feels a pull, not physical, but instinctive, a tug in their bones that draws them toward a forgotten shrine half buried beneath roots and moss. Moonlight spills across the cracked marble floor, illuminating a circular opening that descends into darkness, its edges carved with symbols identical to those glowing on the traveler's skin. A warm breeze rises from the depths, impossibly gentle for a place untouched by daylight, carrying the faint scent of myrrh, smoke, and something ancient enough to feel like memory. The traveler steps inside, the air shifting around them with the slow, deliberate weight of a presence that has been waiting far too long to be found. The chamber below is vast and silent, lit by a soft, amber glow that seems to emanate from the stone itself, as though the walls remember the rituals once performed here. At the center stands a figure draped in white, her posture impossibly still, her face hidden beneath a veil that shimmers like woven moonlight. The traveler freezes, sensing not danger but reverence, as if they have stepped into the presence of something sacred, something that should not exist in the world of the living. The figure lifts her head, and the air trembles, a soft vibration that resonates through the traveler's bones like a forgotten song returning to its first listener. Her voice emerges not from her lips, but from the space around them, layered and echoing, carrying centuries of silence and the weight of truths never spoken aloud. She calls the traveler by the same unfamiliar name, whispered in the cavern, her tone gentle yet unyielding, as though she has spoken it countless times across countless lifetimes. The traveler feels their knees weaken as the marks on their skin flare with golden light, responding to the oracle's presence like a child recognizing its mother. The Sibyl steps closer, her movements slow and deliberate, revealing eyes that glow with a soft, amber fire, eyes untouched by age, sorrow, or death. She explains that she is the last of the oracles, preserved by a ritual older than Rome, older than prophecy itself, bound to remain alive until the final cycle returns. Her voice carries the weight of centuries as she reveals that the hidden prophecies were never meant to be read, only carried. For reading them reshapes the reader as surely as fate reshapes the world. The traveler feels the truth settle into their bones, heavy and cold, as the oracle explains that every mark on their skin is a cost already paid, a piece of their future surrendered to the prophecy. She warns that the prophecy devourers awakened because the scroll was opened, and that they will not stop until the traveler is silenced or the prophecy fulfilled. The chamber darkens as her final words echo through the stone, revealing that the traveler's arrival was not chance, but design, a destiny written long before their birth. And as the oracle lifts her hand to touch the traveler's glowing marks, the chamber fills with a blinding light, sealing the truth that can no longer be undone. The traveler meets the last living oracle, who reveals the prophecy's true purpose and the irreversible cost of becoming its chosen bearer. Chapter 8. The Unwritten Verse. A missing prophecy is discovered, a blank scroll that fills itself only when held by the traveler, revealing a future shaped entirely by their choices. The traveler follows the last oracle's fading light through a narrow passage carved into the earth, each step echoing with the weight of truths that have begun to reshape their very bones. The air grows warmer as they descend, carrying the scent of ancient ink and burning cedar, as though the chamber ahead has been waiting centuries for a single pair of hands. A soft glow pulses from the darkness, not golden like the awakened scroll, but pale and silvery, flickering like moonlight trapped beneath water. The traveler enters a small circular room, its walls lined with empty alcoves where scrolls once rested, each space marked by dust and the faint outline of something long removed. Only one alcove remains occupied, a stone cradle holding a scroll wrapped in white silk, untouched by time, its surface shimmering with a faint ghost-like radiance. The traveler approaches cautiously, sensing no hum of prophecy, no whisper of ancient voices, only a stillness so complete it feels like the breath before a word is spoken. When their fingers brush the silk, the scroll trembles, a subtle shiver that ripples through the chamber like the first stirrings of a creature waking from centuries of sleep. The silk unravels on its own, drifting to the floor like falling snow, revealing a parchment so pale it seems carved from moonlight rather than paper. The traveler lifts it, expecting symbols, warnings, or visions, but the scroll is blank, empty as untouched sand, offering no guidance, no prophecy, no fate. Confusion tightens in their chest until the marks on their skin flare with sudden heat, casting golden light across the parchment in a shimmering wave. The blank surface absorbs the glow, and ink begins to rise from the fibers like mist, forming shapes that dissolve and reform before the traveler can fully grasp them. The scroll pulses in their hands, responding not to ancient rituals or celestial alignments, but to the traveler's heartbeat, their breath, their unspoken fears and desires. Words begin to appear, not in the language of the Sibyls, but in the traveler's own tongue, forming sentences that shift and rewrite themselves with every flicker of emotion. The traveler realizes with a jolt that this prophecy is not fixed, not predetermined, not carved into the bones of time like the others. It is alive, fluid, shaped entirely by their choices. Visions spill across the parchment, paths diverging, futures branching like roots beneath the earth, each one glowing or dimming, depending on the traveler's thoughts. The chamber trembles as the scroll reveals possibilities, both radiant and catastrophic, showing the traveler not what will happen, but what could happen if they choose one path over another. The marks on their skin pulse in response, syncing with the scroll's shifting ink, binding the traveler to a prophecy that refuses to exist without them. A whisper rises from the parchment, soft and intimate, telling the traveler that this is the unwritten verse, the prophecy that cannot be spoken, only lived. The scroll folds itself shut with a gentle sigh, sealing the shifting futures within, leaving the traveler trembling with the weight of a destiny that now belongs entirely to them. And as the chamber falls silent once more, the traveler understands that the greatest prophecy is not the one foreseen by the Sibyls, but the one they will write with every step they take. A blank scroll awakens in the traveler's hands, filling itself with shifting futures shaped entirely by their choices. Chapter 9. The collapse of the veil reality begins to distort as the prophecies converge, causing time to fracture and ancient visions bleed into the present, forcing the traveler to confront the truth behind fate. The traveler steps back into the night, clutching the unwritten verse as the air around them thickens with a strange, electric tension, as though the world itself is bracing for something it cannot contain. The marks on their skin pulse erratically, no longer in steady rhythm, but in sharp, uneven bursts that feel like warnings sent from a future struggling to reach them. A low hum rises from the ground, vibrating through the traveler's bones, carrying with it the unmistakable sensation of something vast shifting beneath the surface of reality. The sky above flickers, stars blurring into streaks of light that twist and bend as if the heavens are being pulled through an unseen lens. The traveler watches in stunned silence as a fragment of the past bleeds into the present, a Roman procession marching across the hillside, translucent and shimmering like smoke caught in moonlight. The vision dissolves, replaced by another, a temple collapsing in slow motion, its stones falling upward instead of down, defying gravity as time folds in on itself. The traveler staggers as the ground beneath them ripples like disturbed water, revealing glimpses of ancient landscapes layered beneath the modern earth. Whispers rise from every direction, overlapping in a chaotic chorus, voices from centuries apart speaking at once, each one carrying a fragment of prophecy that refuses to stay buried. The unwritten verse trembles in the traveler's hands, its parchment glowing with a pale, frantic light as if struggling to anchor itself to a single timeline. Symbols spill across its surface, forming and unforming in rapid succession, each one a possible future, fighting for dominance in the collapsing weave of fate. The traveler feels their thoughts splinter, memories blurring with visions they have never lived, as though time is trying to rewrite them along with the world. A sudden crack splits the air, sharp as lightning, and the sky tears open for a heartbeat, revealing a swirling void of stars arranged in the forbidden alignment of the ninth oracle's warning. The traveler falls to their knees as the marks on their skin ignite with blinding light, forming a protective barrier that keeps the fracturing world from swallowing them whole. Ancient ruins materialize around them, temples, altars, and stone circles from different eras overlapping like transparent layers of a forgotten map. The devourers appear at the edges of the distortion, their forms flickering violently as the collapsing veil disrupts the shadows they inhabit. They recoil from the traveler, not out of fear, but because the unraveling of time threatens even their existence, erasing the boundaries that give them shape. The traveler realizes with dawning horror that the convergence of prophecies is not a prediction. It is a mechanism, a cycle designed to reset the world when fate becomes too tangled to sustain itself. The veil between past, present, and future continues to tear, each rip revealing more visions, some beautiful, some catastrophic, all impossibly real. The traveler clutches the unwritten verse to their chest, understanding at last that the only way to stop the collapse is to choose a future before the world chooses one for them. And as the final tear splits the sky with a sound like the universe exhaling, a traveler stands, ready to face the truth behind fate and the cost of defying it. Time fractures and visions bleed into reality as the traveler confronts the collapsing boundaries of fate itself. Chapter 10. The final revelation of the Sibyls. The traveler reaches the heart of the oracle sanctum, where the ultimate prophecy is revealed, one that binds past, present, and future, and must decide whether to fulfill it or break it forever. The traveler moves through the collapsing world with the unwritten verse pressed to their chest, each step guided by the pulsing marks on their skin that glow brighter with every fracture in the sky. The air around them ripples like heated glass, bending light and sound as visions from centuries apart bleed into one another, forming a shifting corridor of overlapping time. Ancient temples rise and fall in the same breath, their stones flickering between ruin and perfection as the veil between eras thins to a fragile, trembling thread. The traveler follows a path that appears only when they look directly at it, a shimmering trail of golden dust that winds through the chaos like a memory refusing to be erased. The ground trembles beneath their feet, splitting open to reveal glimpses of forgotten rituals. Sibyls chanting in circles, flames spiraling upward, shadows recoiling from their voices. The traveler steps through the final tier in the veil and emerges into a vast chamber carved from obsidian and starlight, suspended in a space untouched by time or decay. The walls pulse with ancient symbols that shift between languages, each one echoing the prophecies the traveler has carried, read, resisted, and become. At the center of the sanctum stands a pedestal of white stone, its surface cracked but glowing, as though holding the last heartbeat of a dying world. Above it hovers a sphere of swirling light, gold, silver, and deep crimson, rotating slowly like a miniature cosmos bound by a single fragile thread. The traveler approaches, feeling the sphere pull at their thoughts, their memories, their fears, as if searching for the truth hidden beneath their choices. The marks on their skin ignite with blinding brilliance, forming patterns that match the symbols carved into the chamber walls, completing a design centuries in the making. A voice rises from the sphere, layered, resonant, unmistakably the combined echo of every Sibyl who ever lived, speaking not in words, but in pure understanding. It reveals that the prophecies were never meant to dictate fate, but to warn of the moment when fate becomes too rigid, too tangled, too dangerous to sustain the world. The ninth oracle's warning was not about destruction, but about choice, the choice to continue the cycle or to break it, to let the world reset or to let it evolve. The traveler feels the weight of countless futures pressing against their mind, each one branching from the decision they must make in this chamber beyond time. The sphere pulses, offering two paths: fulfill the prophecy and restore the cycle, allowing the world to collapse and begin anew, or break it and force reality to grow beyond the limits set by the ancient oracles. The chamber trembles as the devourers appear at the edges of the sanctum, their forms flickering violently, unable to cross the threshold, but desperate to see the prophecy erased. The traveler lifts the unwritten verse, its parchment glowing with shifting futures that swirl like storm clouds, waiting for the choice that will define them. The sphere brightens, the chamber shakes, and the traveler understands that the final prophecy is not written in ink or stone. it is written in the courage to choose. And as they reach toward the sphere, the veil collapses completely, leaving the traveler standing at the center of a world waiting to be remade by their decision. The traveler reaches the heart of the sanctum and faces the ultimate choice to fulfill the ancient cycle or break it forever. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. Until then, stay curious, stay aware, and keep searching the shadows. Take care.